So we have a new D&D book coming out. It's Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen. What can people expect from this adventure?
So it's a 224-page hardcover adventure, which is D&D's return to the Dragonlance campaign setting. It's a setting that we haven't been back to for 5th edition, and it is Dungeons & Dragons setting for war. So what folks can expect is a massive campaign that's going to embroil them in one of the biggest conflicts in D&D history, the War of the Lands.
And we're going to like a not a unique location, but it's a location from the books, but one that is not part of the war as people might know it from like the previous books. You don't need to know anything about those previous books to play in this.
So whether folks are familiar with Dragonlance via the past Dungeons & Dragons adventures or novels or films or any other experiences with it, Shadow of the Dragon Queen is a complete story that takes place on the eastern fringes of the land of Solamnia, which is a place where, in many of those other expressions, hasn't been explored. It's been talked about, there have been events there, but we're taking this opportunity to shine the light on a part of the war that's really never taken center stage, and into that stage, that's where players' characters have the opportunity to shine.
How do you capture a wartime setting in D&D?
One of the big ways that we're doing it is just by context. Like, this is Dungeons & Dragons, of course. You're going to be fighting monsters, you're going to be casting spells, but in the background, it's not goblins that are attacking a village. It's not the wizard on the hill that has scary machinations. There's a storm coming, and that storm is the forces of the Dragon Queen, an army that folks don't really know about, but they're starting to see the ramifications of. They're seeing people fleeing from the east. They're hearing rumors of things that shouldn't exist in the world of Krynn, like dragons, like sinister deities, and those start to play into the plots of something bad is coming and we're not prepared.
Dragonlance is unique in the fact that like the gods have been absent, the dragons have not been around and are thought to not exist at this point. Like it is a place very much like almost post-fantasy. Like there's some magic in the world, but no gods, no dragons. It's a very different landscape. And then within the course of like 2 years, all of a sudden dragons everywhere, gods everywhere.
So the context for the Dragonlance setting is baseline Dungeons & Dragons, but there's a few assumptions at the start of the game. You can still play everything that you would expect to play in a D&D setting. You can, of course, play a cleric. You can, of course, play a wizard, those sorts of elements. But the assumption at the beginning is that there are a number of events that have occurred on Krynn that have shaped the land in a way that many classic D&D elements have been forgotten. So this massive conflict, or this massive disaster, is literally called the Cataclysm.
Right.
And it has changed the face of Krynn in a way that has caused people to either forget or abandon the deities of the world. It has also caused mages to sort of fade into the background, into their own cabals, which are altogether known as the Mages of High Sorcery. But then also other things have receded. Dragons have all sort of hidden from the world of Krynn, and they've moved to the fringes of the world where the peoples of Krynn aren't. And then on top of this, the Dragon Queen's return is a secret, and it's only now are her forces starting to make her name known, and as a relation to that, they are also unveiling their new weapon, a deadly type of monstrosity known as Draconians. Humanoid dragon creatures that are really the shock troopers of the Dragon Queen's forces. So there's all of these elements that make Krynn unique, but we also know that that's a lot for somebody who's might not know anything about Dragonlance, and we don't want people to feel like you have to have done all of this pre-reading or you have to have been following the campaign setting for decades to know all of this. So right from the get-go, aside from providing a campaign setting guide that will tell you here's what the gist is with the world of Krynn, there's also elements of the adventures where if you're a wizard, if you're a cleric, or if you want the download on what the Dragon Queen and her forces are, you can play through these little introductory scenarios prior to the true start of the adventure and get caught up to speed in the course of play rather than just doing some homework.
Right, so you don't need to... Well, you should. You should watch all these videos, but it's not required that you know. Like, you learn as you go.
Absolutely. The biggest thing that we wanted to avoid with the project is to be like, all right, we're going to throw you into Krynn. Has everybody done the reading? Like, no, that needs to, instead of being a lecture from the DM that catches you up to the timeline, the lore, all of the elements, sit down, make the characters you want, and you can start playing. And in the course of those early adventures, oh, here's what the gist with the Mages of High Sorcery are. Here's what the gist with the deities of Krynn are. And, ooh, here's a first encounter with Draconians, where in that particular instance, it's not some mystery or rumor that there's these dragon people. You are the people that encounter these Draconians, so you're the ones who are taking to other people, hey, we saw these dragon people, and folks are like, that doesn't seem right, until it's right on their doorstep.